Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something really quite different for us, aren't we?
We absolutely are. No leaks documents this time. Instead, we're going deep, really deep, into maybe the rawest kind of source material you can get.
Which is?
A Twitter Space recording from 2024, hosted by Alberto Daniel Hill, A.D. Hill. And it is, well, it's chaotic, multi-language, unfiltered performance, conflict, the works.
Okay, so chaos is the starting point. What's our mission here? What are we trying to pull out of this mess?
Right. It looks like a mess, but our goal is to treat all that unstructured stuff, the way they talk, what they actually say, the fights, the drama, treat it like psychological data.
Ah, okay, so analyzing their personalities.
Exactly. Their personas, how credible they seem or don't seem, their influence or lack thereof. Self-esteem is a big one here. We're basically turning this verbal free-for-all into hopefully some real insight about online identity today.
Got it. And who are the main players in this online drama?
Well, you've got the host, A.D. Hill. He's kind of the center of the storm.
Yeah.
Very high drama, seems pretty insecure, lots of self-deprecation.
Okay, who else?
Then there's Rori. She's like the calm eye in the hurricane, the patient one, the anchor, often ends up doing tech support, believe it or not.
Right, the voice of reason.
Sort of. And then you have Silan. He's the antagonist, the provocateur, witty, but definitely seems to get a kick out of stressing A.D. Hill out. Manipulative, maybe?
Sounds like a recipe for interesting dynamics.
Oh, it is. And then there are the walk-ons, unexpected guests who just pop in and become like instant reality checks.
Like who?
Nancy, who is Silan's grandmother, sharp, skeptical, and some guy claiming to be an Italian reality TV star.
Wow, okay. So what's the vibe right at the start? How does it kick off?
It sets the tone immediately. High drama, but kind of low stakes. A.D. Hill literally starts talking about needing to see a psychiatrist.
Seriously, why?
Because he can't get coffee with foam in his neighborhood.
You're kidding. Coffee foam warrants a psychiatrist.
Apparently. It sounds trivial, right? But it perfectly establishes this pattern. Huge existential angst directed at tiny, everyday problems. Performance, maybe?
Definitely sounds like it. And what about Rori, the calm one?
She jumps in almost immediately saying she's tired. Like, perpetually tired. Her words were, sueño siempre, basically. I'm always sleepy.
So right away you have this contrast.
Yeah.
One guy is melting down over coffee, the other is just trying to stay awake.
Precisely. He's all anxious energy and performative misery. She's competent, but just drained by the whole thing. It sets up their whole dynamic. He needs engagement through drama. She needs survival through, well, just getting through it.
Okay, let's dig into A.D. Hill first, then, at the High Drama Center. You said anxious, self-deprecating.
Oh, deeply. He doesn't just hint at insecurity, he kind of broadcasts it. It feels like the whole space is less about hosting and more about him getting attention, maybe even a weird form of public therapy.
How does that come across? Is it subtle?
Not at all. He openly talks about watching YouTube videos to deal with feeling inadequate.
Like what kind of videos?
He gives specifics, things like how to stop feeling like a failure, how to stop feeling useless. Really raw stuff.
Wow, that's quite the admission for a host.
And it gets more personal. He mentions searching specifically about relationships, referencing, quote, never having a girlfriend at 35.
Okay, so he's putting all his vulnerabilities out there. It paints a picture of someone really struggling with self-worth.
Definitely. And he seems to need this public stage to sort of process that pain out loud. It draws you in a way.
And how does this insecurity play into his relationships in this space? You mentioned Silan.
Right. He actually complains that he feels used by Silan, says Silan constantly uses him for free therapy.
So he recognizes it.
He names it, but he still participates, right? He complains, but he accepts the role. It suggests this deep need to be needed, even if it means being an emotional dumping ground. He gets something out of it too, perhaps.
Well, wait, this is where it gets weird, right?
Yeah.
Because he mixes this vulnerability with something else.
Exactly. That's the credibility paradox. One minute he's talking about feeling useless, the next he's casually referencing his criminal history.
His criminal history? Like what?
He mentions being in jail, having some past connection with Interpol. He weaves this really questionable, almost dangerous-sounding past into his current identity as a radio host who discusses cybersecurity.
So it's like he's trying to balance the low self-esteem with a kind of tough guy persona.
Precisely. It's a deliberate strategy, I think. Pity me, I'm a failure, but also fear me, I've dealt with Interpol and prison.
Trying to get validation from both angles.
Right.
Sympathy and maybe a little bit of intimidation.
Yeah. It makes his whole online persona incredibly hard to pin down. You don't know whether to trust him, dismiss him, or be slightly wary. It keeps you engaged, maybe.
Okay, let's pivot to Rori, the anchor. You said she's the competent one, the professional amidst the chaos.
Absolutely. She's the grounding force. Practical, patient, essential really, because the conversation constantly threatens to just float off into A.B. Hill's anxieties.
How does that competence show up? You mentioned tech support.
Right, almost immediately. A.D. Hill's computer suddenly turns off mid-space, and he just panics, completely helpless.
What does he do?
He basically yells at Rori for help, asking, "What do I do? Plug it in." But the kicker is, he seems genuinely confused about what device he's even using. He asks if it's a laptop or a 4x4.
A 4x4, like the truck.
Yes. He confuses his computer with a vehicle. It perfectly highlights his helplessness versus her immediate, calm competence.
And Rori just handles it.
Patiently tells him just plug it in. She kind of implies this is normal for her, dealing with, let's say, technically challenged clients. She mentions it's a common frustration in her job.
Does she share any stories?
She does, and it's actually one of the funniest moments. It cuts right through the heavy drama. Yeah. She tells this anecdote about a client calling her, completely serious, to report a worm in the printer.
A literal worm.
A literal worm. It's hilarious, but it also subtly reinforces her point. She deals with actual tangible problems, sometimes absurd ones, but real ones, unlike A.D. Hill's constant existential crises.
So she brings a dose of reality, but you said she has limits.
Yeah, even her patience isn't infinite. There's a point where the conflict, probably between A.D. Hill and Silan, gets too intense.
What does she do?
She just mutes herself. Checks out.
And does A.D. Hill notice?
Oh, instantly. He calls her out on it. It says something like she muted herself and became a turtle, trying to retreat into her shell.
So he sees it as a withdrawal.
Right. But for her, it looks like necessary self-preservation. She's drawing an emotional boundary. Unlike A.D. Hill, whose self-esteem seems tied to the drama, hers seems intact enough for her to say, nope, not participating in this chaos right now, protecting her own mental space.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's talk about Silan, the antagonist, the provocateur.
Right. Silan. He's defined by being demanding, kind of abrasive. He uses humor, but often as a weapon for confrontation. And yeah, he genuinely seems to enjoy winding A.D. Hill up.
How does he do that? What are his tactics?
Well, manipulation seems key. It starts early with what you could call academic exploitation.
What do you mean?
He talks about having homework physics, database modeling, complex stuff, and basically refuses to do it himself.
So what does he do?
He tries to get A.D. Hill to do it for him using ChatGPT. He literally says, no, but I want you to enter this in ChatGPT. I'm going to dictate to you.
Wow. Just straight up trying to use him.
Yeah, it's blatant. He sees A.D. Hill as a tool, constantly pushing the boundaries of their, well, codependent relationship.
And beyond that, you mentioned he projects a certain image.
Yes, very much so. While A.D. Hill mixes vulnerability with a criminal past, Silan seems focused on projecting aspirational criminal power. He seeks validation through dangerous connections.
Like what kind of connections?
He frequently brings up the Mexican mafia, expresses this desire to, make friends with cartel members.
Why? What's the stated reason?
He explicitly says it's so he can scare people, or so they can avenge him if someone wrongs him. It's all about perceived power and intimidation.
So it's a performance of wanting influence through fear.
Exactly. It's a fantasy of control, and it ties into this dark humor he mentioned.
This dark humor.
Yeah. He says he's been medio oscuro de humor, had a dark sense of humor since he was a kid. But it goes further. He talks about engaging in dark magic rituals.
Seriously? Like what?
Consulting oracles, someone named Marinella specifically, apparently to bring misfortune onto people who anger him. He even mentions, maybe hyperbolically, maybe not, wanting to kill someone through these means.
Whoa, okay, that's intense. So his persona is tied to this desire for control, both criminally and even spiritually.
It seems that way. It's about manipulation on multiple levels. It creates this really interesting triangle. A.D. Hill wants validation through pity and notoriety. Rori gets credibility from competence. Silan seeks influence through manipulation and performing darkness.
Okay, this is already complex.
Yeah.
Then you mentioned unexpected guests turn up, like the grandmother.
Yes, Nancy. Silan just brings his grandmother into the space, and it seems like it's totally against her will. Even A.D. Hill points out, hey, this might actually be illegal to record her without consent.
So blurring lines between online antics and real-world rules again.
Constantly. And Nancy is fantastic. She's the ultimate reality check. Sharp, traditional, immediately skeptical. She operates on a completely different plane from these guys.
How does she react?
Her first instinct is verification. She demands, I want to know who he is, I don't know who he is, which is such a contrast to this fluid online world where A.D. Hill can be whoever he claims to be moment to moment. Nancy brings instant, old-school integrity.
And hosts have to deal with that.
They try. They attempt this awkward pivot, trying to make it sound like a serious interview for FM Espacio, asking her about music tastes in Uruguay. Their stated goal, to destroy the preconception that people like cumbia.
Trying to sound intellectual, perhaps?
Totally. But Nancy flips it on them. She gives this incredibly structured, thoughtful answer, way more intellectual than anything they were attempting.
What does she say?
She talks about her own tastes. Julio Iglesias, traditional Spanish music, draws a clear line saying she dislikes music after the year 90. But then she offers actual cultural critique.
Like what?
She says she feels Uruguayan culture got contaminated by foreign commercial radio starting around then. She sees modern music as less authentic, less local. It's a genuine generational perspective.
So she accidentally becomes the intellectual anchor they were pretending to be.
Exactly. Amidst all their chaos, she delivers this moment of clarity.
How does she perceive the hosts themselves, A.D. Hill and Silan?
That's maybe the most revealing part. When A.D. Hill is being polite to her, she actually praises him, calls him bonito que habla bien, muchacho, basically, a charming young man who speaks well.
Okay, so he can turn on the charm.
But then immediately after, she expresses total confusion about what he actually does. She asks, is he a musician? No, he's a programmer. Does a programmer talk to people?
Huh. She can't square the performance with a real job title.
Precisely. She senses the disconnect between his chaotic online persona and any kind of stable, real-world profession. The whole thing ends a bit awkwardly, but even A.D. Hill has to acknowledge her impact, praising her quality and tact. She forces them, momentarily, to respect real-world maturity.
Wow. So Nancy was a major disruption. What about the other unexpected guest? The Italian.
Yes, the Italian. Right after Nancy's dose of reality, the stage is set for this huge credibility test, which then blows up spectacularly.
What happens?
A new guy joins, speaking this mix of Italian and Spanish. He claims he's a DJ, works at a disco. Okay, plausible enough. But then he claims he was a contestant on Grande Fratello.
Italy's Big Brother. The really famous show.
The very same. He gives details, says he's 34, from Verona, lives in Milan, just broke up with a girlfriend of 10 years.
And how does A.D. Hill react?
He loses it, in a good way at first. He's utterly thrilled, thinks he's landed an actual celebrity to space. He's shouting, siamo con una celebrità, we're with a celebrity.
I sense where this is going.
Right. Because this is the perfect test for A.D. Hill. The guy who talks about being a hacker, having Interpol connections, now he has a chance to actually use those supposed skills.
To verify the Italian guy's claim.
Exactly. He decides to investigate in real time, starts doing online searches, reverse image searches on the profile pic, checking follower counts, looking up the name against past contestants. The supposed cyber sleuth is on the case.
And the results?
Swift. And devastating for A.D. Hill's excitement.
He wasn't the guy.
Not even close. A.D. Hill reports back, sounding completely deflated, that the user profile seguía 3 personas y 2 seguidores. Following 3 people, had 2 followers. And crucially, was definitely not the famous contestant he claimed to be, Danielle Del Moro.
Ouch. So the bubble burst.
Spectacularly. A.D. Hill immediately flips from excitement to fury. He feels totally duped. He calls the guy a chantas italiano, which is pretty harsh slang. Basically means a fake, a liar.
How does he handle the humiliation?
Poorly. The psychological impact is huge. His ego, briefly inflated, just shatters. He starts raging, saying things like, I'm hot, I'm going to break everything.
And what finally sends him over the edge?
The final insult. The fake Italian blocks both A.D. Hill and Silan after being exposed. That's the ultimate betrayal for A.D. Hill. He just cannot believe it. I can't believe this guy blocked me.
Wow. So the rejection, even from a liar, hits hard.
Immensely hard. But then Silan, always analyzing the darker side, offers a theory.
About why the Italian blocked them.
Yeah. Silan suggests it wasn't just about being caught in a lie about being famous. He thinks the Italian realized who he was talking to, A.D. Hill, the self-proclaimed hacker, and Silan, the crime enthusiast, and got scared.
Scared of what?
Scared they'd expose something else, something very dark that he didn't want people to know about, as Silan puts it. He thinks the Italian bolted because he feared their reputations.
That's a fascinating twist. So the fake celebrity was scared off by their real, albeit performed, dangerous personas.
Kind of ironic, isn't it? Their chaotic, high-stakes performance, which often lacks credibility, was actually credible enough in this instance to scare away an imposter. It validates their online identity in a weird way, even as the incident highlights A.D. Hill's poor judgment.
Okay, so after the celebrity drama fizzles out, where does the conversation go?
It takes another sharp turn, actually back towards something more professional, spurred by Silan thinking about his career. They start discussing cybersecurity roles.
Using ChatGPT again.
Seems likely, yeah. They break down the definitions of a few key roles, probably getting standard explanations.
Which roles do they cover?
3 main ones. First, incident response, IR. That's the reactive part, dealing with a breach after it happens. Identify, contain, eradicate, recover. The cleanup crew.
Okay. And A.D. Hill chimes in on that.
Yeah, he makes a very specific local point. He claims IR is basically the only one of these roles that really exists with much demand in Uruguay.
Interesting. What are the others they discuss?
The more proactive ones, which Silan seems interested in, threat hunting, TH. That's actively looking for threats that got past the defenses before they cause damage.
Like patrolling the network.
Exactly. And then threat intelligence, TI. That's about analyzing information, understanding the threat landscape, predicting what might come next, more strategic.
So IR is the ambulance, TH is the patrol, PI is the intelligence agency providing warnings.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. But this is where A.D. Hill's pessimism really kicks in again.
About the local market.
Yeah. He flat out tells Salon that threat hunting and threat intelligence essentially don't exist as viable career paths in Uruguay. Says the market isn't mature enough, doesn't have the budget.
So what's his advice for Silan? Who wants to do those things?
It's pretty stunning, actually. He tells him he should basically give up on those specialized roles locally and instead become an influencer.
An influencer, instead of a cybersecurity professional.
Yes. Or, he says, focus only on getting work from foreign companies. It paints a really bleak picture of the local tech job scene, suggesting skilled people either have to leave or do something completely different, like becoming an online personality.
Which, ironically, is what A.D. Hill himself is doing.
Precisely. The advice reflects his own path, perhaps.
And does the conversation stay professional? Or does it drift back?
Oh, it drifts right back. The line between talking cybersecurity and talking crime is always blurry with these two. They segue back into discussing prison, referencing A.D. Hill's past again.
What does he say about his time in jail this time?
He reiterates that his 8 months felt like a vacation, relatively speaking, but he's careful to contrast it sharply with the real prison, Concar, which he calls hell.
Does he give details about Concar?
Yeah, chilling ones. Says people get killed over food, describes it as brutal. But he also observes this weird hierarchy. He meets that big-time foreign drug traffickers inside Concar often get treated surprisingly well because of money, connections, favors. But inmates convicted of certain crimes, especially against children, are heavily targeted by other prisoners.
So even within that brutal environment, there's a kind of twisted code.
Exactly. It shows his awareness of these complex social dynamics, even in extreme situations.
And Silan, how does he engage with this talk of crime and exposure?
Silan offers his own, let's say, unique operational security advice, considering they're broadcasting all this potentially incriminating talk.
What's his strategy?
He suggests the best way to hide is, paradoxically, not hiding. Just be completely open about everything.
Why would that work?
His theory is based on absurdity. He thinks that because they're so blatant and chaotic about their criminal interests and pasts in a public space, authorities will just dismiss them as a joke, as not serious threats. The noise becomes camouflage.
Hiding in plain sight by being loud and ridiculous.
That seems to be the idea. It's a gamble on perceived incompetence as a defense strategy.
And this whole section, does it have a concluding beat?
It does, and it perfectly encapsulates their bizarre friendship. It ends with a joke about betrayal.
Another one?
The ultimate one, maybe. A.D. Hill jokes about turning Silan into the FBI for a $10 million reward. He even offers Rori a tajada, a cut of the money, if she helps.
And Silan's okay with this.
They both laugh about it. It highlights this complete mutual understanding and acceptance that betrayal is always on the table between them. Their bond seems to almost require acknowledging that lack of ultimate trust. They joke about selling each other out, and that somehow holds them together.
That's deeply dysfunctional, but weirdly functional for them.
It seems to be the currency of their relationship.
So as this whole deep dive winds down, what's the final state of things? Where do they leave it?
Well, Silan is still fixated on his cybersecurity career path, but he's overwhelmed. A.D. Hill diagnoses him with the lust of wanting every single certification at once. Dragonhard, CISSP, CompTIA Security, plus all of them. now.
Classic analysis paralysis, maybe. Information overload.
Exactly. He wants everything. And surprisingly, this is where A.D. Hill actually offers some solid, stable advice.
Really? What does he say?
She tells Silan to just focus, pick one thing, do it, then move to the next. Stop trying to grab everything simultaneously. It's maybe the one moment of genuine, practical mentoring from the usually self-absorbed host.
A moment of clarity. Does it last?
Nope. Not at all. The high-drama, low-stakes conflict needs one final act, and it circles right back to the very beginning.
The coffee foam.
The coffee foam. Silan delivers the final blow. He uses his last moments in the space to meticulously describe making himself a fancy coffee.
Like cutting coffee.
A mocha cappuccino with 4 centimeters of foam. He describes it in detail, knowing exactly what it represents for A.D. Hill.
So it's a deliberate jab.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
It's psychological warfare via caffeine. He's reminding A.D. Hill of his barrio pobre status, his poor neighborhood, his inability to get that simple luxury that kicked off A.D. Hill's whole existential spiral hours earlier.
Wow. Rubbing salt in the wound about coffee foam. It brings the whole chaotic cycle full circle.
Perfectly. It ends on that note of petty antagonism, reminding A.D. Hill that even if he achieves online notoriety, he's still excluded from these tiny symbols of comfort or status.
Okay, so looking back at this whole experience, what's the big psychological takeaway?
I think what really stands out is just the sheer emotional cost of playing this online personality game. You see A.D. Hill using all this drama, this performance of vulnerability and past toughness, basically to mask deep insecurity and just get engagement. The space is his public therapy couch.
And Silan.
Silan uses aggression, manipulation, and this performance of dark power, probably to manage his own stresses or insecurities. He needs control. And the whole thing runs on this constant testing of credibility, Nancy testing them testing the Italian. It shows this fundamental distrust built into their online world. Everyone might be faking it.
So their personas, even the toxic parts, are functional for them online. They work to get attention, even if it's negative.
They seem highly effective, yeah. But the currency is often distress, anxiety, and these elaborate fantasies of crime or victimhood. The space really was a microcosm of modern online life, wasn't it?
How so?
Well, you saw how fast community, or the appearance of it, turned into betrayal, like with the Italian getting blocked. You saw performance completely replacing authenticity with the fake celebrity claim. And even the genuine search for knowledge, like the cybersecurity definitions, was constantly derailed by intense personal drama.
Yeah, that definitely comes through.
So it leaves you with a really interesting question to think about, doesn't it?
Which is?
In this kind of environment where even transparency feels like a performance, who's the real threat actor? Is it the person who lies about being famous, like the Italian? Or is it someone like Silan, who's totally upfront, totally transparent about wanting chaos, wanting criminal influence, and enjoying psychological manipulation, who's actually more dangerous in the end?